Hello and welcome to the Rebel Republic. You're either with us or you're against us. To my left, the self proclaimed voice of reason himself, Frank Cristiano.
That is me.
He has no empathy or tolerance for anyone.
No one.
No one. And Dave Schumann, Coach Schumann, sporting his Boardwalk Beasts hat. Is that Boardwalk Beasts or Cobra Kai? I can't really tell.
Better than Cobra Kai.
It's better than Cobra Kai. I do have to say that Boardwalk Beast is a badass name.
It is. It's amazing.
Did you create it?
Yep.
Yeah.
You want to know how I created? I always have good stories for you. Here's a good one. So there's a young kid that started a site called Shore Savages that covered high school sports down the Shore Conference area where I live. And I thought that's such a great name, Shore Savages. Like he's now like the most popular, like it's all Instagram, but he's incredibly popular. He videos things. It's unbelievable what he does. Anyway, so when I was in North Jersey, I had a club called the Warrior Kings. That was our 7-on-7 club. No insight into that name. Just I had a lot of good players. And then I moved down here. I took a year or two off from that, and I started to start up again. I'm like, what can I call it? And I thought, Shore Savages is a cool name. If I could do something that was like represent where we are.
Yeah.
And it literally just hit me. Boardwalk. I'm like, what would go Boardwalk Beasts? Boom. I'm like, that's perfect name.
It is.
If it wasn't for Shore Savages, I wouldn't have named it Boardwalk Beasts. He gave me.
It's very catchy.
That sounds like what happened to Trump. You know, he's sitting around one day and he's like, Gulf of Mexico. What the hell can I put the Gulf of America? I got it.
Well, I like the 51st state.
Yeah.
I think Canada should be our 51st state. They bring nothing to the table.
No, you know what though? You gotta look into it and read into it. So bottom line, I've seen a lot of memes and I've seen a lot of posts about how Canada puts a 200% tariff on milk. Canada has put a 200.
That's a lot, though, isn't it?
No, right, but they're saying that there's a lot of tariffs that Canada imposed in 2018 on the U.S. as far as product. But then when you really look at it, like I was talking to a friend of mine, and he looked it up for me. We looked at it, and I read 2 or 3 different articles today. So 200 and some odd % tariff on milk. Well, what happens is there is a quota. If the U.S. is under the quota of purchasing milk from Canada, then there is no tariff. There may be a small 1 or 2 or 3% tariff on it. If they go over the quota, then they get hit with the 200%.
Oh, okay.
And the U.S. hasn't gone over the quota since establishing that deal in 2018. So, yes, there is a tariff of high tariffs on goods. Some of those, though, are not implemented because they're within purchasing agreements. You know what I mean? So, I think still, no matter what, I think that what Trump is looking at is the trade deficit.
Right.
Bottom line, he's looking at the numbers, and the numbers are upside down between the U.S. and Canada, and between Mexico and Canada. So this is why he's slapping the tariffs on. And by the way, let's just throw 10% onto China because they're China. Yeah, I really think that's what it is. I think that's how he's going about it. And there'll be deals signed with other foreign countries that trade with us. But I think these are just like initial snapbacks to progress to deals, to deals to be made.
Trump can do whatever he wants, pretty much. I mean, no one's really going to stop him.
Well, listen, as long as the Republican Party stays together,
Yeah.
That's my contention all along, every show we've done. As long as the Republican Party stays together and doesn't fragment on voting, then there's really not much that the Democratic Party can do to slow down what has happened like within the first 50 days,
Yeah.
60 days,
Right.
and for the next 4 years, as long as, again, there's not a midterm change in voters voting out Republicans and putting in Democrats. So my thing is, I still don't have full confidence in the Republican Party to be as obstinate as the Democratic Party would be. The Democratic Party, they got control. They're going to keep control, and they're going to pound it to death. The Republicans always have a couple of belly achers. And those few belly achers are what could turn a vote or could turn a plan of the Trump administration into chaos.
Right.
And so it's got to be controlled.
I wanted to ask you because I heard this today. I don't really follow the news, but there was a dictator from an anti-Israel Colombia agitator who is not being deported, and I was curious as to why.
A dictator. We need a dictator.
Magomed Khalil from deportation as politicians come to his defense. A judge blocked his deportation order.
Well, it wasn't the protester from Columbia University who was actually taken into custody. He's actually going to be deported. He'll be gone. He's going to lose his visa. I don't know if that's the same guy. I don't think it is.
Okay.
I'm not sure about. I don't know what his situation is. What he had done.
Anti-Israel agitator. Okay, he's not a dictator.
From Colombia.
He is from Colombia. Yes.
Well, I mean, not the country of Colombia. I'm talking about Columbia University. Is that where he had the protests?
Oh, I thought it was
Trump is taking all the funding that funding away from Columbia.
Yes. 400 million will come out, and there's more
University.
there too.
Yep.
And now they're looking at, I think it's 10 or 12 more universities.
Yep.
Where they will remove funding for those
if
that
you don't
allow.
deport them.
No, not deporting.
I'm going to be removing funding from my Pakistani suppliers for my uniforms if they don't get me my shit faster.
Yeah, I would definitely do that, right? Or I would apply tariffs on them.
Is he allowed to do that?
I would.
Can he apply tariffs?
I would. Well,
I think they should apply tariffs to all these places because eventually the manufacturing could come back to America. I wouldn't have to order stuff overseas because it's 3 times cheaper than it would better. And by the way, as good or if not better product overseas. If they would just tariff these people, I wouldn't have to be held prisoner by them, and I could get stuff done by Americans at a fair price versus Americans having to charge so much more for the same product. That's the problem.
I listen. I get where Trump is going with the idea. I get where his cabinet is going with the idea, especially economic guys. I understand. Yeah, having manufacturing in this country would be very beneficial to us. It would be beneficial in the fact that it would be better made products. There are good made products overseas. Don't get me wrong, but there would be good made products. There would be a ton more jobs in this country available for people to actually jump into.
Absolutely.
I think the problem is the labor market.
I knew
the labor market is so bad right now because since the Obama administration, all these people have been going to college and getting education to do online jobs they can do at home from a laptop. So none of these people want to jump into manufacturing. They don't get up and go to work and go to the plant and use their hands and sweat. This is not what they want to do. Now they're probably going to have to at a certain point if the plan smooths out. But I think that's a 10 to 12 year plan. Yeah. I don't think that's a 1 or 2 year. Here we go, guys. We're manufacturing.
You might be right.
That's what I worry about.
I do think it is an overall. You're right about this. It's an overall problem with the American labor market in the sense that everybody's been told they got to go to college,
right?
And you still have some people that work with their hands, obviously, but the pool of those people is far less. Now, manufacturing, in all fairness, is still much more on the machine side, computer based. But you still need some people to have knowledge with it. Like they're not hand. I mean, they're not.
And they have to show up, Dave. They have to show up to work. You've got a federal a federal workforce of I don't know how many millions of people, and they're working an average of 1 out of 5 days a week in the office. They're
Right.
at home.
Well,
Right.
I think that's good to have some work-life balance, right?
What? No.
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 You need to
Okay.
go into work. If you're there, if there are that's why they have so many hundreds of thousands or millions of square footage of federal office building space empty. I mean, these
wow.
buildings are literally empty, and Trump's coming up. He says, "I might as well just sell them." How can you have some people go into work and they need to go into work, and other people just don't work? I mean, granted, they do. I still consider they do light work. You're on your computer, laptop, a couple hours a day at your house. You're not working 8-9 hours on your laptop. There ain't no way you're. You know those companies that time you, and the people were just like leaving the laptop on and then going out and getting coffee and cakes and then coming back. So the computer's on, so it looks like you're doing work.
Yeah.
That's garbage. That's what people do.
It is. Yeah.
People naturally don't want to work.
Well, why would they?
Why would they? To get a paycheck.
Well, they should just give us
to be able to pay. No, who should give you money?
The
companies. The government should just give you money.
Yeah.
Well, they tried doing that for the last 20 years.
Okay.
Look what happened.
Yeah.
Now we got LGBTQ studies in Afghanistan. That's where the money went.
So, Steve, I love how you do that. By the way, you're good at that.
What am I good at?
The make believe I don't know anything about this.
I don't. I don't know.
And then you have the voice of reason clarify for you. It's brilliant, actually.
I don't know anything.
I think it's a good you're working your way back into the best
podcast, right? I don't know anything.
Conversation of the best podcast.
This is the greatest podcaster in the world.
Now you're mocking my intellect. I'm asking questions
I'm
to try to
I'm
learn.
actually saying it's very intellectual.
It's intellectual.
Playing a role. You're playing
Rebel. You think this is a role?
This is Rebel Republic. Okay, so Rebel Republic is a show where the host of the show really doesn't read or watch any news.
No,
so
I
just comes
I just don't understand it all the time.
So Steve, I was giving you credit. So all right, so you're saying you don't deserve the credit. You're saying that you are playing role. You really don't know.
I'm really a moron. Yes. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah. I'm just letting you know.
Beautiful.
Can
you cue the music again?
I read an article which I thought was interesting.
Yes, you
about the Vance guy and
the Vance Harris. Guy. Who's the Vance guy?
The one that ran with Harris.
Vance ran with Harris.
Waltz and Harris.
Waltz.
Yes.
See,
I don't know everything.
Vance is the Vice President of the United States. J.D. Vance.
Waltz had said that he and Harris really played it safe, and that they should have gotten out and done more town hall.
Yeah.
And
that would have helped them.
And spoken more.
If they spoke more, that would have helped them. Yeah, that's all they. What they needed to do.
So you don't believe that?
No, what they needed to do is to put out people that actually know how to speak, actually know how to present themselves, actually can put actual facts and speech and sentences together. I mean, you've got one guy. I think Walsh is a total lunatic.
He is.
I think he's a lunatic. I think that from the rumors of abuse with students. To the fact that he was promoting himself as a high school football coach who everybody loved, which was bad.
Wait a second.
Yeah,
coach high school football.
Yeah, he coached high school football.
What business did he have coaching high school football?
You tell me. I have no idea. All I'm saying is that, and with the policies that he ran his state, I mean, he was all for the National Guard or the police going around and rubber bulleting people in their homes when they were coming outside because of COVID, because they weren't supposed to be outside.
Wait a second.
Yeah.
People were walking outside and he was shooting them with
not him
bullets?
Directly, the officers
he ordered it.
Yeah. That was his orders.
That seems a bit much.
Yeah. So between that,
he should be shot with a rubber bullet.
I know.
Beat with a rubber hose.
You get hit with a rubber bullet. Hurts.
I want to hit with a rubber hose.
So bottom line, I mean, he's and
up your nose with a rubber hose.
And his city's burning down. He's got his main metropolitan city burning down during riots. Let it go.
He was happy.
I mean, those are insane.
Burn, baby, burn.
Those are insane thoughts, insane backings, insane policies to run through. So that guy was a total clown. I didn't buy any of his crap.
And that's who they went with.
Of course they did, because they went with the feel-good candidate of the century. Kamala Harris made everyone feel warm and fuzzy because she wasn't Joe Biden. And then, but she was part of the overall cover-up of a wet napkin
That
being
was
the
my
president
point.
of this country.
They
for
all
4
should
years.
be investigated for
Doesn't
that.
matter.
They
They
knew
can
he was a
investigate all
wet
they want.
napkin,
It doesn't
and they
matter.
allowed it to
Did
go
you see
on.
that? Dave, did you see the article that came out about how Joe Biden his last? So I think for the entire 4 years he had an automatic signing machine.
Really?
So yeah, so
they would have his signatures.
So when he had to give his signature on policies, on executive orders,
Right.
whatever, they had an automatic. It's an automatic signing machine with a pen, and it moves it back and forth to mock
stimulate
hand
his signature.
The only thing he signed, they said, the only thing that he signed in the 4 years that he was there was the resignation as for running for office for 2024.
I got to get.
He wasn't supposed to do that. He signed his own handwriting. It was totally different than the regular signature from the machine.
I think we need to get that.
It's insane.
I think you should get that.
That's what do I need it for? What do I checks?
Yeah.
But all I'm saying is that's to have that there and then to not get it exposed where people are outraged. How are people not outraged? They are so wrapped up in wet tissue paper ideology that they can't break themselves from saying, you know what? We got fucked for 4 years.
Wet tissue paper as ideology?
Yes. We really got run over by a train in 4 years. We were meant to feel better. We were meant to do better. We thought the open liberal policies and concentrating on the 10% of the country instead of the 90% of the country, that was going to make us better. And now all of a sudden, it didn't. Now we're looking at where the money was diverted, right? Doge. Now here's what Doge has to do, though, Dave. Back me on this. Doge has got to start coming out with some facts on paper, and they got to show the American public.
Well, I'm sure they'll have a report.
They got all these departments that they're trimming, all that. All these people kept saying, "Well, actually, nothing's happened right now. Nothing's happened yet. I haven't seen anything yet." Well, I don't think they're just pulling this out of the midair.
No, they'll present it.
Trump will pull stuff out of the midair. Trump will pull stuff out. He'll say this. He'll say that. And he'll stretch the truth a little bit. That's okay. That's all right because I want to get it out there. Yeah. Bottom line, if Elon Musk and Doge did not come out and show us on paper what has been spent to where, I need to see some checks. I need to see some direction of where the money went electronically. I need to know who received it. I got to know. There's got to be a paper trail or an electronic trail. Exactly. That's what we need to see. Because then the American public that even voted Democrat can finally go, wow, you know what?
They screwed up.
This really was a crap show. It was a shit show.
Yeah.
This last 4 years was a shit show because they were taking from us. They're taking from the American paying public. Okay, and that's what the outrage should be, and it's not.
Hey, Dave, was there ever a shit show like there's been with Biden before Biden came into power? Was there anyone as bad as him that you can think of?
Yes.
Okay.
Jimmy Carter.
Oh, yeah.
Carter had a tough one.
Well, you said Ford, too. I didn't even know. Ford, you said, lasted 2 years.
Well, that's because he was after
Nixon.
Yeah. Nixon had it pretty rough too.
Did Ford run again?
Ford, no.
I think Ford lost to Carter.
He lost to Carter.
Okay, so Ford did run again. He just lost.
Well, he didn't run the first, but that was his first attempt at running because he was vice president of the United States.
Did he do anything memorable in 2 years?
He fell down the stairs of Air Force One. I remember that because Chevy Chase did a fantastic Saturday Night Live skit back in the late 70s.
But other than that, nothing memorable was done.
No, he was just trying to hold the fort together because you got to realize Nixon at the time. If Nixon did what he did then, if he did that now, it will be brushed off with.
Well, he didn't really do that much. He just videotaped people, right?
He tried to change the direction and the course of the whole election by planting false information.
Chris D's hammering me again.
Yep.
Chris D, I'm sorry. I'm just trying to educate myself. Chris D, I was scammed last week. You weren't on. I was scammed by Johnny McEntee, just so you know. He scammed me out of $500, and everyone laughed at me for it. They said that I should have known better, and they mocked me. These people, my co-hosts, who I thought were my friends, they took the opportunity to laugh and laugh and laugh. Oh, what do you think about that, Christy? What do you think about that? I know you would support me and feel some semblance of. Yeah. No. He might. You don't know that. You don't know that.
No, that's your fault.
Well, there's a lot of things that are my fault.
You fell right into the Venus flytrap.
Yeah. No, I did. So Jimmy Carter only lasted 4 years. Did he run again?
Jimmy Carter did not. He tried. Yeah, he tried to run against
And he
Reagan.
lost.
He lost. Absolutely.
Okay, and he lost again. So
Or
that
no,
was
it wasn't Reagan. Wasn't it? No, it was
No, it
Reagan.
was Reagan.
It was because Reagan ran against Mondale in
Mondale,
'84.
yes.
'84. That's right.
Yeah. So they had a pretty rough stretch there, where Ford, he didn't get reelection, Carter didn't get reelection. That's pretty rare.
It was I mean,
People
Ford
usually
was a
get the 8
Republican.
years.
They went Democrat, then they went back to Republican again. People, listen.
Did you hear today that Elon Musk said that they tracked the IP address to Ukraine of
Twitter getting hacked?
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, there's supposed to be a massive cyber attack on X, and he tracked it down.
Is that what it was? That's what happened. And then I also saw
Yeah.
that Trump was asking Elon if he could help get those guys down from space.
I thought we're sending Katy Perry into space.
We are?
Is that true? Oh,
Well, I think she's on what is
that true?
Blue Origin, or what's it called over there? I think they're going up in that shuttle that takes you just into the orbit. And brings you back down.
That's bullshit. I was supposed to go on that.
That's Jeff Bezos, right?
I told you that story, Dave, how I was supposed to go to Mars.
You wouldn't be coming back if you went to Mars.
Right, but didn't I tell you the story?
No.
I didn't?
Maybe
Did I tell Frank the story?
Was this on some psychedelics?
Some
mushrooms?
I vaguely remember. Yeah.
Yeah, when I was at my lake house in the Adirondacks, and my cousin Danny, who Frank knows, was visiting from Colorado, and he had some cookies, and I indulged myself in some cookies. I went to bed, and I got up, and I couldn't see straight or stand, and I fell through the closet. I got up, and I fell through the closet again. Yeah, and I applied to go to Mars. I just was fixated on the mission to Mars. I had to go. And I spent an hour filling out the application.
I just watched The Martian last night, actually, with Matt Damon.
That doesn't count.
Yeah, the movie. Great movie. It's probably one of my top 5, I think.
Really?
The Martian. Yeah, great movie. And I could see you being on Mars. I could see you.
Part
where Matt Damon had to take dumps to use his feces to grow potatoes.
Well, yeah,
that would be
good fertilizer.
I could see you doing that.
Well, yeah, but I realized that I don't bring anything to the table. I can't
Nothing
fix
whatsoever.
anything. I can't build
Nothing
anything.
whatsoever.
I can't change the light bulb.
You would be dead.
I told you I put promoter of goodwill. That was my job.
You're right, Katy Perry and Gail King.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I think if they get to go to Mars, then I should be able to go.
They're not going to Mars. They're going just into
orbit. They're going
into orbit.
Well, I'll take what I can get. Dave, can you find out how I can sign up for the orbit trip? I think that's a good start.
I think it's $1 million. I think it's $1 million a pop or something.
You didn't have to pay. You got selected,
no.
But I had to weigh 215 pounds. The weight limit was disturbing. And then you're going, but you're not coming back.
You would have to diet now, and you could fly in 2020.
I just get my stomach stapled. I just take the easy way out. I think that
what was the movie where the guy wakes up? Was it a guy?
What, Benjamin Button?
No, that was a good movie. I like that movie, actually.
I didn't like that movie.
No? You didn't like how he went in reverse?
Nah, I didn't like it.
I've never seen it.
I didn't like it. Don't watch it. It's not very good.
Okay.
It's overrated.
What I realized about Benjamin Button is whether you're old, you die as you're old, or you die as you're young, you're basically like a baby in the end.
Well, yeah, you're in a diaper regardless. What are you thinking? The one with Tom Hanks, Apollo 13?
The movie? No. The one where the guy is
Armageddon?
He wakes up and he's on the ship and he's by himself. And
are you thinking of the Vin Diesel movie?
No,
not Interstellar with Matthew
McConaughey.
Matthew McConaughey. That's when the Earth was dying, and they
that's when he comes back and visits his kid. That was a good movie.
Listen, Interstellar, phenomenal movie. It just makes you realize that the director had to be smoking a ton of weed.
Well, you have to
got to the fourth dimension. I don't know how.
He was coming through. He's coming through the wall of the bookshelf, the bookcase shelf, and he's opening it up and coming back in. That's an insane movie.
I did go see a concert of the Fifth Dimension when I was 2 years old. My parents brought me. You know they are?
What's the Fifth Dimension?
I think it was the Fifth Dimension they were called.
Is that like Woodstock?
It was like a band. It was like
Oh.
from the 70s.
Oh, okay. I've lost interest.
I think who was in it? Oh,
Well, it doesn't really matter. It's just
Dionne
a band.
Warwick.
Dionne Warwick.
Then I really lost interest. She's in the band called the Fifth Dimension. Why would I care about that?
I have to look this up.
I don't want you to look it up. No, I think it'd be fun to go to Mars and just see what happens. And maybe this orbit could be my test. We'll see if I can do the orbit.
I would call Doge and ask if there's any money floating around to send you into Mars.
Well, no,
there's a ton of money floating around there.
I applied for a private. It was a private group that was doing
you just
it.
need the money. You
don't I know who the Fifth Dimension singer was. You would know if I tell you now.
No,
Frank will know. You won't know. You're not old enough.
Jimi Hendrix?
She was. You remember Solid Gold? Marilyn McCoo.
Marilyn McCoo, yeah.
Yes, she was one of those.
Is she black? Is she black?
The Fifth Dimension. Yes.
Okay.
Wow.
Well, she had that voice.
Hey, how about greatest podcaster? How about the $2 billion from the it's like not the solar program. It's like what's it called? It's from the EPA.
What, for alternative energy?
Yeah, not alternative energy, like to upgrade appliances and stuff like that to be more efficient.
Energy efficient,
right? So there was a $2 billion grant, and the grant was issued to, I don't know, directly or indirectly, to Stacey Abrams, who ran for governor of Georgia 2 different times and lost 2 times.
Isn't there an Abrams that's on one of the news station, or maybe that's Dan Abrams?
Possibly, but this is Stacey Abrams.
Yeah.
So bottom line,
in Georgia.
Yeah, everyone kept figuring out how she's literally a couple years back she's bankrupt. She has no money, and now she's a multimillionaire
because she lied about this appliance thing.
What happened? It sounds like what happened was it was a $2 billion grant.
It was just an oversight.
They've seen about 530 million of it spent supposedly, but they've only seen the I think it's I don't know how many million, a couple million or a little less in one city, one town in Georgia. They ended up doing like 60 or 70 homes with new appliances. And after that, the rest of the money is unaccounted for. It has surreally disappeared into pockets of, and all this was signed. All these things were signed within the last few months of the Biden administration. The last few days of the Biden administration, it looked like one of the, I know I was reading in one of the Trump cabinet members had said that it looked like the gold was being thrown off the Titanic. The way that Joe Biden was signing over deals, money, funding all these different departments that were basically bullshit. And the money was just flowing out in the billions. I don't know. I think it was 27 billion he had signed over in the last few days of his presidency to departments that sent money into stuff that was just either garbage or non-existent. So again, got to find out, got to get the truth out and all that. Got to see it on paper. But again, it'll be another point where people will deny that is bad compared to what Trump is doing now. What Trump is doing now is the end of the world.
Right.
He's talking to Russia. He denounced Zelensky in Ukraine. He's firing thousands of valuable federal workers that are out in the field monitoring the fish in the streams and the sunlight in the valley. And he said the market is down because there's no set policy in place. These companies, they don't know what tariff, what's going to happen, how long is it going to stay. The policy doesn't make them all warm and fuzzy. So bottom line, they're comparing that though to a president of the country funneling billions of dollars into organizations that were going to do nothing with it but disperse it to people that were probably loyal to the Democratic Party and to the change in power and change in solar and all that stuff. Well, how is there no outrage on that?
Yeah, it's crazy. There has to be a lot of outrage on it. I don't know how they could let something like that go.
The Democrats or the Republicans letting it go?
Well, I mean, the Republicans are going to get the outrage, but how are they? The Democrats are not sitting on their side and going, Jesus. The last few days of his presidency, he made sure that the pockets of people that were corrupt made sure to be lined with the cash of American taxpayers. How can that happen? And they're not picked.
Yeah, they have to be furious about it. They have to be absolutely furious about it. I had a question about Doge. Is Doge something that will exist for the foreseeable future for the next 4 years, or will it last a year and then wind down?
Great question, by the way.
See, great question.
That's a great question. I don't know the answer to that. Meaning your question is basically like, is this super popular right now because they're making some initial cuts and there's a buzz around it, and will this exist beyond the year or two after the buzz dies down? That's a great question. I don't know. I'm not sure if this is like does Elon get bored at some point of this?
Well, I think at some point he's got to pull out because he has other businesses that are suffering right now because he's with the market dropping the way it is. There's tons of money out there that are left on the table if he's not there running his companies. I think you'll see a department. I think you will see Doge being established as a department. I see if a Democrat wins a future election, that department will be wiped out completely. They're going to put in their auditors and their monitors and their whatever else they want to call them, and because they're government backed people. They think that but all these people that were there to do the checks and balances and to find out if there's any fraud, the fuck were they doing? What have they been doing for 8 years or 12 years or 15 years? Where are they grabbing all this
or
well, anybody in general, but Democrats especially over the last 4 with the way the money was spent, the way you're looking into these departments that are funneling money to causes that are just are asinine. The causes are asinine. I don't care what anybody says. Feed the Americans first. Take care of the veterans first. Help the homeless. Build some homes. Get people back up on their feet. Let the tax fix the roads. Let the tax dollars go to work for the country. If I got a little change left over, I'll dump it overseas. I got no problem with that. I want to help people out in the world too, but I got to help myself first. But these people that are supposed to be auditors and are supposed to be monitors of what goes on in these federal departments and where the money goes and who gets it, if people are so pissed about what Elon Musk is doing right now, why are they not pissed about those people that were there before in charge that did nothing?
No, they just rubber stamped it.
They did nothing. They did not do their jobs. Of course, if you're home 5 days a week, you're not in the office, you can't do your fucking job.
No. And that's the biggest disappointment of it all. And that's the best thing about Doge. They've gone in, they've taken no prisoners, they've cleaned house, and they basically said, F you. We're not letting this money be spent.
But now what they have to do is they have to show the American public the details. You can't come out and say that there's X amount of dollars going for this and X amount of dollars going for that. Everybody's like, oh my God. You have to shut 47% of the country up and come up with numbers and stick it right in their face and go, hey man, here it is right here. And then maybe they'll start to believe a little more and they'll start to realize the crap that's been going on in the last 4 years with the handouts. And it's ridiculous.
No, and I just hope it doesn't continue. I hope that any other funds that are spent are checked, double checked, and triple checked before the money is doled out. That's the biggest thing that needs to happen.
Well, I think Doge has the opportunity to do really good things. I don't know what the long-term plan is once you cut a certain amount of things out. Does that department stay in, or does it become something that is not useful after a certain point? I don't know. And I don't even know how many people they have doing it besides, like the thing about Trump is moving so fast and it's amazing and I love it. you know what? I'm almost like I just want to enjoy the ride as he makes these decisions and encourage him to make more of these good decisions and then evaluate them as we go and correct where we need to correct. But at least we're going forward and ahead, which is very counter to what was going on before, where um everything was like just put to the back burner other than, I don't know, like fighting in Ukraine, basically. Um, but we didn't protect any of our normal friends. We came to protect friends that are not, one of the most corrupt governments. I'm not saying they're not an ally. I'm just saying, there's a lot of things that are going on in Ukraine that Zelensky does that benefits Zelensky. Of course, he came to the table because he tried to wield his hand of power and he had no power. And he realized that he needs to be in there with hat in hand to Trump and the United States to get what he needs to be able to fight this war. I saw a very, very interesting take on the Ukraine-Russian conflict. Have you seen this?
Which one is it?
So
I've seen a lot of them.
So basically, it's about when Russia went into Crimea. Well, it actually goes back to the Soviet Union when they broke up, and supposedly I can't think of the name of what it's called, but there's a treaty that allows the former Soviet Union countries to become independent. Okay,
Sure.
as long as they adhere to the ability of their own sovereignty, meaning be able to financially be solvent and all those kind of things. And if they're not, they then become absorbed back into the Russian Empire. Okay, so this is something that most Americans don't know about. I didn't know anything about this.
Right.
And what was really interesting about it was the Russians. Now, I'm not saying Putin isn't a dictator. I think he is, but according to this treaty thing, Crimea, which became its own independent government within away from Ukraine, even though it was part of the Ukraine Empire, became insolvent financially. And now I'm not saying this is in the Russian viewpoint of it, okay? It may be. I'm not saying I'm on this side or that side. That he went in to take Crimea back because of the fact that, according to the treaty, they were no longer financially solvent and independent. Now, the Ukrainians' obviously argument is that they're part of Ukraine. I'm not saying that's not a valid argument. I'm saying that if you are hardline this treaty, that's supposedly what should happen. Now, the battle beyond all of this goes to the whole NATO thing where Ukraine, and it's because of this pact that Ukraine cannot be part of NATO because they are allowed to be independent under the treaty of breaking up the Soviet Union. So it's a complicated thing. That's something we would not understand as Americans because we're not part of this treaty. We weren't part of the breaking up of the Soviet Union, although obviously Reagan helped facilitate some of that, but we're not part of that. And so it becomes complicated, this conflict, where we're actually in a war that at the same time, I feel like that we should support Ukraine and support if they want to remain solvent. But this whole Crimea issue, if our administration doesn't understand the history of this stuff very well, which Biden, I believe, did not, and I believe that and it's just Russia, Putin bad, which part of it is true. I'm on Putin's side of that, but without understanding this whole thing with respect to the Soviet Union, the treaties, and the independence of those countries or not. And maybe someone can correct me if I'm wrong if they listen to it in the future and put in the chat what is really the right thing and the wrong thing, because I don't claim to be an expert. But if any of this is true, then we're involved in a conflict that really is a situation that has a lot to do with the former Soviet Union and not us, which, if that's true, Biden was working us towards World War III over something that was really an internal former Soviet Union conflict, So,
I just think, Dave, they're besides the U.S. insurgents that tried to that caused an overthrow of the government in 14. I think they went to Ukraine and secretly caused the undermining of that government to put in now what would be Zelensky. I think that you have to look at Ukraine. Russia is tired of NATO infringing around their borders.
Yes.
And now Crimea, those people want to be a part of Russia. They want to be a part of Russia.
right.
We notice the fighting right now. They actually aided at some point some of the Russian movements through Ukraine because those people want to be part of Russia. But Russia feels threatened on its borders. In the last 20 years, they've lost X amount of Estonia, Latvia. I mean, all these places have gone independent,
Right.
and all trying to join NATO or be part of NATO, and which brings missiles, which brings armaments, troops, treaties, whatever it may be, closer to the Soviet border. And so that's where I think Russia did Russia invade Ukraine? Yes. I'm tired of Trump saying that that's not the Russia invaded Ukraine.
Yeah.
But I think that they felt threatened to the point now, and they gave warnings. They said it was going to happen. These countries keep falling one by one into NATO hands. They're getting closer and closer to our borders. We don't want it. We're telling you not to do it. And with Ukraine, I think that we're on the verge of possibly putting some kind of agreement together to join NATO as well. So I think that's where Russia took the steps. But my thing is this. Here's what bothers me. Russia, Putin dictator. Yes, you're right. Absolutely. Yes, Putin dictator. Putin involved in a lot of underhanded stuff. Yes, Putin definitely is dirty, criminal. He's a former KGB agent. He knows the worst of how to handle himself. But when you go into negotiation to try to create peace between two warring factors, and one warring factor, just unfortunately, due to the armaments and due to, I don't know about the enrollment size, because their people don't want to fight in this war either, but they're just grabbing them and enrolling older people, just like Ukraine is. But Russia has an upper hand in this battle. They are just a larger, more powerful force. And Ukraine is just, if it wasn't for the funding by NATO and the US, they're running out of steam. They're running out of capital. They're running out of armaments. They're running out of people. So when someone has the upper hand, you can't go in to a negotiation and go, hey, you're a dictator, you're evil, you're sinister, you're a killer, and you're an invader. Hey, let's make a deal.
Yeah.
It doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
You have to. So people are like, well, he's appeasing. They didn't vote in the NATO voted that Russia invaded or started the war and U.S. didn't back him and all that. Well, the U.S. are the only ones out there trying to negotiate a treaty. I don't see Germany coming in and negotiate a treaty. Nope. I don't see England negotiating a treaty. I don't see NATO coming in and going, hey, they haven't done anything. All they've done is send money and weapons. So bottom line, when people are insulting Trump as far as his relationship with Putin, I think the relationship is there because with no relationship, you ain't going to get nothing done.
No.
And Trump wants to get something done. And I think it's to the positive.
It's
to end civil conflict, because whether you think about it or not, Ukrainian or Russian, they're all Russians. They're all part of this.
Here's what I want to read to you. This is interesting. So the agreement of the creation, it's called the I can't pronounce it. Belovezov Accords.
Okay.
An agreement on the creation of the Commonwealth of Independent States. Officially, it's called, or unofficially, the Minsk Agreement or the Belovezov Accords. Is the agreement declaring that the USSR had effectively ceased to exist and establishing the Commonwealth of Independent States in its place as the same as an organization created by the Union Republics, basically establishing Belarus, Russia, Ukrainian as a Commonwealth of Independent States of the former Soviet Union. What's interesting about this, so what's interesting about it is I never even realized they're part of a commonwealth, that they're aligned together still, but just as separate independent states.
Without
And
Russia.
what's that of
Without Russia.
right? So it's interesting because if CIS charter comes from like I'd have to read more into what violates it,
Sure.
but that's an interesting thing that I would have never known. I wouldn't have known any of that. That seems like something to me that is an interesting thing to look at, that a lot of Americans who obviously support Ukraine for the most part don't probably understand. And so when supporting what Ukraine is doing, it's important for us to know like the situation. The same thing as like when you see on the flip side, like when you hear like these Palestinian protests and like Israelis were never here in the Middle East. It's like, have you opened the Bible? I mean,
Right. Right.
obviously there are Israelites in that part of the world, right?
Yep.
So but it's interesting to when people don't know about certain things, that it's really, and that's what's crazy about wars, right? Is that um a lot of times the government can dictate what you know about a situation. And I think in the Ukrainian situation from the Biden administration, we just because Trump was vilified with Russia.
Yep.
It was very easy when Biden came in for the Ukrainian thing to be Ukraine, because it was really originally basically the polar opposite of Russia. And there is a decent amount of Ukrainians that live in America. I mean, it's not a large population, but there are Ukrainians that live in America that are also going to be pretty supportive of Ukraine, right?
Of course. Sure.
Because you get those people that left because they're part of the former Soviet Union. They defected from Russia when it was still USSR, and they're from Ukraine, and they want, blah 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 blah. But anyway, I just think it's really interesting because when Trump, basically stifled Zelensky, and Zelensky, he was trying to wage power where he had none. Really, the bottom line is that a lot of people in Ukraine and Russia are dying of something that they should be coming to the treaty table for the most part, which is, it's vastly different to me than, like, obviously the Israel Hamas conflict, Palestinian conflict, where the Hamas attacked Israel. And by the way, the truth is, if Biden just supported Israel in the get-go, it didn't even have to give them much. Just saying, hey, you have the freedom to go do what you need to do. They already have the weapons. They already have the technology.
Right.
They would have eliminated the issue for the most part. Now they're just, they're trying to figure this whole thing out. Whereas the Ukraine thing, we spent billions and keep throwing billions and billions of dollars into a situation where a lot of people continue to die, where there probably could be a solution come together. Ukraine is not going to get, no matter what happens, Ukraine is not going to get all of Ukraine back. Period. End of story. What you said is very true.
Yep.
The people who are of that area, a lot of them do want to be Russian. There are probably a good amount that want to be Ukraine. There's going to have to be a treaty formed in certain parts of that area
Yep.
that allow it to become demilitarized zone, and these people can be part of Russia, and these people can be part of Ukraine.
Throw
And
some NATO troops in there. Let them do their job.
yeah, I think that's what really has to happen. Um, I think it's like it's gotten to a situation where I think people are going to needlessly die, where you have someone there, Trump, who can bring this to the table
It's got to stop. It's got to stop, because I mean, one struggle, Ukraine and Russia, that is more of a political land struggle. Hamas and Israel, that is a religious struggle.
Correct.
And those are, to me, those are two separate animals.
And it's much harder to go away. Much harder.
Yeah, Hamas and Israel, that will never go away. That will be there forever. If you ever see these independent people, they walk through the streets of Israel and they say, if there was a peace, could you have Arabs and Israelis living together and different? Of course we can. Then you go to Arab countries and they ask the same question and they're like, Arabs, no, we don't want any Israel. We want all the Jews out of.
They want them out.
So that's a rooted issue that will never end.
Never end.
There will never be a great solution to that one way or another. So I think that part of the area, they're just going to have to live with that kind of conflict. Every 10 years, you're going to see something flare up.
Something come up.
Yeah, the Russian-Ukraine thing, this will subside. There will be, my prediction, there obviously will be a peace treaty. There will be land, like you said, given up. There'll be new demarcation lines. There will be new lines of communication between the two countries. The U.S. will be an intermediary. I think NATO will suck on dust again, just as they have in the past, because they're late to the table with everything. They are like the fireman who shows up to the fire and the fire has been put out for 12 hours. What happened? Can I help you? Need a hand? NATO is always late. They're late because they're unorganized, unmotivated, right? And they're afraid. They're always afraid. Yeah. The only time they're not afraid now is look how fast they organize. See, that's the thing. I was talking about Trump just yesterday morning with a friend of mine, and he kind of doesn't like the border thing is good, and then Trump should pull back and all this stuff because it's just getting too much out of hand. Well, no, Trump is pushing the issue. So Trump is like, see, in regular politics, everybody gets there. The honorable senator from Georgia, the honorable lady from Massachusetts. Everybody's sucking each other off in politics. Nobody wants to. But you know what? Trump is running it like a business. If you're the owner of the business and somebody's effing up, you get up to the guy and go, hey, do your job, do better. I'm getting rid of you and I'm putting the next guy in. And that's basically what he's doing with politics. And politicians can't handle that right now. That is too much of a stress factor on their heart. They need to take heart medication when Trump comes in the room, because he's going to go in and he's going to yell at him, just like he did the governor of Maine. When he did the governor of Maine, and he said, hey, you know what? She's like, oh, I'll see you in court. Well, I'll take you in court. I'll take you just like that.
No problem.
He put someone down in public, and people don't like to be shamed in public, right?
No.
They don't like to be shamed in public. So they get all defensive. But I bet you damn right, I bet you that she's going to start working in her state once the judgment comes out that you can't do this. She's going to start working in a state to clean it up and get it done right away. These people that are getting Doge working, those people are working hard. They're going to get rid of people. They're going to get rid of people right away. The jobs are going to get done. You're going to see. That's why things move. That's why NATO all of a sudden NATO can't talk to each other for more than 5 minutes, and all of a sudden it sounds confusing because they don't know what they're talking about. But all of a sudden, here comes Sturmer from England, and he's like, hey, Donald Trump doesn't look like he's going to support Ukraine. So we've got to get together now and do something as an organized group of NATO and go in and fund Ukraine and back Ukraine. You should have been doing that from the beginning. You should have been doing that in full force instead of just piecemealing it and sending them money. Okay? Look at the Arab world now. What did Trump say about 3 weeks ago? You know what? I think the U.S. is going to buy Gaza. We're gonna plow it under. We're gonna put an airport there and some Walmarts, right? And all of a sudden, the Arab world was like, "What? Trump wants to buy Trump? The Americans want to own part of Arab land?" Now there's a $58 billion deal on the table between Saudi Arabia and other Arab countries to go in and rebuild Gaza themselves.
Yeah,
he's getting shit done.
He is.
By pushing people at their own game. You're pushing them. I'm going to push you until you fight back and start doing something about it. And that's what's happening.
So let me ask you one last thing. People have been complaining about the market and the market plummeting as of recent. Do you think that it's going to be that way for a while, or do you think it will settle and eventually start to uptick?
The market has trends. It has past history.
Yes.
So there's things to learn. So if you look at it, in 2016, when Trump elected president, he slapped some tariffs on early on in his presidency, the first few months. America dove a good 10, 12% down. People panicked. The panic was over. Everything settled. People understood what was going on. The market went back up. In the 4 years of the Trump presidency, the market was at the highest it had been in its history. So obviously, minus COVID, minus that last few months of COVID. So in looking at that trend, right now, we just got to wait and see where the bottom of this market is to where the information on tariffs kind of makes sense and are in place or are not in place.
Right.
The longer he stretches that, the longer we have to wait. But the market will rebound soundly. You have to look at 2008 in the financial crisis. The markets tanked for about a year and a half, 2 years. After that, you invested in them, you could have made a ton of money. You got to look at COVID. The market tanked during COVID because of the uncertainty of death around the world. No one knew what to do. Businesses were closed. Everything was shut. About a year and a half into COVID, if you'd invested in the market skyrocketed again. So these are trends. These are natural timelines. People have to relax. People also have to relax on this. This is what I can't stand. Trump promised day one he'd lower the prices on my gas and my food, and I haven't seen that. Well, only a moron believes that the first day this guy comes into the office, your gas is going to be lowered 50 cents and your food costs are going to come down. The policies take time to take effect. Did he say that in his campaigns? Of course he did. Of course he did. He was trying to make an impact. He was trying to show you how bad it has been and how good it can be. But these things, they take time. He has to turn his entire way of thinking around to be able to implement his ideas to get this administration to push through what needs to be pushed through to lower your gas, to lower your inflation, lower your food costs, you'll see it right now coming up. Interest rates will be coming down. So these things all take place, but they all do take time. Stop taking the fucking man literally on everything he says. Okay, because if we took Joe Biden literally on everything he says, everything's fucking great. It was fantastic. Why did I even borrow? What do you mean there's inflation? There's no inflation. We're fine. And the Federal Reserve guy, take him literally. It's a transitory inflation. What transitory? There's inflation, brother. And it's high. In the first year and a half, it was like 9.5%. And we got it down, but we got it down. You know how we got it down? We gave away free money to everybody. We gave away free money to everybody.
We did.
Everybody. The guy in Peru got 7 Social Security checks. They're giving free money to everybody. Come on. Why don't people see this? So policy means a lot, but it takes time to implement. Once this
you get a car.
Everybody. Give it time. Give it a year. Let's get to January. Let's get to March of 26, and then let's see where we are with pricing. I can guarantee you, pricing will be down. Interest rates will be down. The market will definitely be back up. That's a guaranteed success story. And I think the climate of the country will be even better now because we know that we won't be spending money on foolish things that have nothing to do with the larger segment of American public. The smaller segment of American public, they always have their problems. But the larger segment of American public is who you have to appease to get votes and to get the country to stabilize.
All right. Well, another banner Rebel Republic. Love the discussion.
Who are you texting, by the way, half of the show?
Just Johnny McEntee trying to get my money back.
Oh, good.
You are?
No, I was just talking to Burton. So, yeah. Well, what are you going to do?
Are you the greatest podcaster, or are you?
Yeah. Well, you guys were handling all the discussion. I wasn't.
You weren't part of that.
You're knowledgeable. I'm not.
Right.
So, wow. I
like
will talk with you tomorrow, Dave. We got our big meeting at 2:30. Hopefully it goes well. I'm excited for that, for the voice of reason.
Yeah, speak well of me.
Yeah, we'll do our best. The coach, David Schumann. This has been Rebel Republic. Remember, when life gives you lemons, don't make lemonade. Take 2 oranges, throw them back in life.
You made it.
Good job, Steve.
Oh, you're an asshole. That's why I got to